Alydar suddenly has dropped back very suddenly and appears to be out of the race. Here's Nasty and Bold getting through. Alydar is back in stride once again. It is coming on in that position.
Now, Alan, in the long history of the Travers, are there any runnings that stand out for any particular reason?
Sure, there's about 3 or 4, I think. I think the most popular one was Jim Dandy winning the Travers over Gallant Fox in 1930. That was an amazing story. I think it's not just the greatest upset in racing history, it's one of the greatest upsets in sports history. To go back, he'd won a race in 1929, I think it was a Grand News. It was a 2-year-old race at Saratoga on a sloppy track and went up, he won it, he had a 50-1. But then in 1930, he started out, he's losing races. In fact, he had not won a race up to the Travers. In fact, he finished dead last on a week before the Travers, and the only horse he beat was a horse that fell down. So he goes to the Travers, and there was a huge buildup in the Travers that year because a horse called Which One, which was a champion 2-year-old colt of the year before, and it was owned by John Hay Whitney, was going to be racing against Gallant Fox, who was the Triple Crown winner. And it rained that day, but once again, people couldn't get in. They couldn't get enough people in because of the interest between Which One and Gallant Fox. And the other 2 horses, Jim Dandy and Sun Falcon, were just considered, they weren't important at all. And when the race went off, Which One and Gallant Fox got into a speed duel in the slop, and Jim Dandy went to the middle and just won by 4 lengths at 100-1. By the way, he never won another race that year. And that was the only race that Gallant Fox ever lost that year. And he wound up, Jim Dandy wound up racing 140 times and won a total of 7 races. But 2 of them were at Saratoga, 51 and 100-1.
Any others?
Oh yeah, there's also the Jaipur Raidan race, a great race in 1962, Travers. And they just went as a team around the track, and Jaipur won by a nose. I think Raidan was a 2-year-old champion the year before, and Jaipur was a 3-year-old champion that year.
Coming into the stretch, that's Jaipur out in the middle of the track. Cyan along the rail with Raidan. Coming through the stretch now, that's Jaipur and Raidan still battling for the lead. Military Plume on the far outside coming on with Smart and Syed. Now coming to the 16th pole, it's Jaipur and Raidan still battling head and head. And as they go over the finish line, it's a photograph for the win.
Everybody forgets there was a Hall of Fame horse in that race who finished dead last, the filly Cicada. But when Jaipur Raidan ran around that race.
And they're off. Victory Gallop veers in at the start. And Deputy Diamond got pinched back.
A 3-horse race between Victory Gallop, Raffy's Majesty, and Coronado's Quest. And they went down the wire together, like maybe a net separating all 3 horses. Another tremendous race.
And Victory Gallop is gathering momentum as the field turns for home. Coronado's Quest racing for the challenges to come. Grand Slam is there. Victory Gallop is moving to him with the furlong to go. At the 8th pole, it is Coronado's Quest by 2. Victory Gallop 2nd, Grand Slam 3rd, Raffy's Majesty is 4th. Smith all over Coronado's Quest. A final surge from Victory Gallop as they come to the line. Raffy's Majesty closing with the rush. Photo finish. Coronado's Quest, Victory Gallop, and Raffy's Majesty. 3 noses on the line in a dramatic renewal of the Travers.
And there was a race. Aloma's Ruler, Conquistador Yellow, and Gato de Sol were the winners of the Derby, the Preakness of Belmont, and a horse named Runaway Groom came out of nowhere and won. In fact, I was there the other day. I thought that Gato de Sol had won because he was a great horse, but as was Runaway Groom.
On the inside, Conquistador Cielo. And now Conquistador Cielo puts ahead in front. Aloma's Ruler on the outside is 2nd. And Runaway Groom from Canada moves up. Runaway Groom alongside the inner 2. Those 3 to the wire. Runaway Groom, Aloma's Ruler, Conquistador Cielo, Runaway Groom in front.
And as I mentioned to you before, that happened in 1918 in the Travers when the Exterminator, who was the Kentucky Derby winner, and Joran, who was the Belmont winner, and War Cloud, who won the 1st division of the Preakness, ran in the Travers, and all of them lost to Sunbriar, who was Exterminator's entry mate. There's only 4 horses in the field. There was one of my favorite horses. It's not a famous horse at all, but in 1874, Attila ran against Acrobat and a bunch of other horses, and it wound up being a dead heat. This one is a mile and 7/8. And so they arranged, the owners arranged to have a runoff after that day at the same distance. And Attila won the runoff at its mile and 7/8. In fact, finished that race about 3/4 of a second faster than his earlier race. But that's like almost 4 miles in one day.
So when did the Travers go from a mile and 7/8 to the now current mile and a quarter?
I got it up there, but it's been back and forth and back and forth. I think it's been a mile and a quarter since around the turn of the century. But it's been various distance before that.
0. General Assembly on the inside, King Green on the outside in second. General Assembly does have the early lead.
Who holds the stakes record for the mile and a quarter?
Oh, that would be General Assembly in the slop, 1979. Son of Secretariat. I was there that day and it was awful because it rained so hard I left early. It's the only Travers I've ever missed, but if people were coming in from there, they couldn't see outside. It was cold and rainy and sloppy, and I went inside. I went to a party, and that was probably his greatest race, General Assembly. He still got the record, 2 minutes for a mile and a quarter.
Approaching the 16th pole, General Assembly extending to an 8-length lead, and Smart in his second, General Assembly in front.
There was only one horse that won the Triple Crown and the Travers, and that's Whirlaway in 1942. In the last couple of years, Haskell seems to be getting better horses than the Travers does. I think also because they paid the trainer and the owner and some prominent horses to come. But and also, I think a lot of trainers use the Haskell as a prep for the Travers. And then they decide, well, if they didn't do all the training in Haskell, they don't show up anyways. But it looks like Shackelford's going to be here after the Haskell, and so will Ruler on Ice. So Travers will always be there. In fact, it's funny. The Travers was not, until the middle 60s, the Travers was not the most important race at Saratoga. The Hopeful was. They had more money, and that's why the Hopeful is still the last race on the last weekend. To this day, you should probably get down and thank William C. Whitney for buying the track and getting a bunch of people together with money and building it up again to what it is today. I think the two heroes of the Saratoga racetrack are John Morrissey and William C. Whitney, because of course, Morrissey was his idea, and Whitney saved it from ruin. It wasn't just William C. Whitney; he was the one that started it. But John Hay Whitney, C.V. Whitney, Mary Lou Whitney, they were all very important in the track's evolution.